Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. Well, it's the beginning of a new set here, the beginning of set 9. This is from the very first day that this set was out on the live client, not on the public beta environment. And so we're going to use this video as an introduction to Teamfight Tactics. As I typically do at the beginning of a set, I am recording this video with the understanding that the person watching does not have any prior knowledge of Teamfight Tactics. So we're going to go through some of the basics here, talk about the features in this set, and then go on from there. First thing that we have, though, is there's a change here in set 9, is the game starts with one of 3 portals. And it's going to choose one of 3 different options. And the one that we got in this game was Shifting Sands. If you don't have a magnetic remover on your bench, you get one at the beginning of the next round. So this is a new feature for set 9. Instead of the item carousels that started out past sets of Teamfight Tactics, it begins with a portal, and there will always be 3 of them to choose between, and they'll have different effects throughout the game. This was one of the ones that had kind of a lower impact, not really that noticeable. Some of the portal options will actually have very, very big effects, like big game-breaking effects. But this was not one of them. It just means magnetic remover appears on your bench at the start of each round. That allows you to take items off a champion that's on your board without having to sell the unit. So like a little nifty feature, but not terribly significant. Okay, as mentioned though, this is an introductory video. So let's talk about some basics for Teamfight Tactics, shall we? This is a PvP game. It consists of 8 players who compete against one another in a lobby. You build a team of characters using the Little Legends champions, and you put them on the board, and they basically are your team, and then you build your team and you compete against the teams of the other 7 players, although this is actually the 2-player mode. I am playing together here with Antisocial Monkey. There are some small differences in terms of how the 2-player mode works, but by and large, it just, you are playing with a partner, so 4 teams of 2 instead of 8 individual players. But anyway, the basic logic is still the same. You are building a team based on the League of Legends characters, all of which have different abilities. Some of them are like very tanky units that soak up damage. Some of them are physical attackers. Some of them are magic, elemental damage attackers, that kind of thing. Anyway, so that's kind of the goal. You build your team, you compete against the other teams, and it keeps going until there's only one team left, and that one is the winner. All right, now the game also starts out with the chance to pick an augment. So that is what we're going to look to do here. There is a change here in the set in the sense that you can now pick something called a legend, which is one of the League of Legends characters. And it basically is, the idea behind the legend is before the game starts, you pick one of them, and then you are guaranteed to have certain augments show up in the augment selection process. Now, it appears as though that's actually bugged here in double up mode because I had taken Vladimir as my little legend, or excuse me, as my legend for this game, and I actually did not get the Vladimir augment as an option. It just didn't pop up at all. So apparently that's bugged, but this is one of the features that's new in this set, is you can kind of customize what augments you're going to get to some extent. It's still not entirely guaranteed, but it's a little bit less random than it was in the past. Augments are various different things that affect how the gameplay will play out for your team. They always give you different benefits of some kind. Some of them will give your team additional gold to spend in the store. Some of them will make your board stronger. Maybe your units get more health. Maybe they do deal more physical damage. Maybe they attack faster, etc. The one that I took is called Social Distancing. Your units deal more physical damage and more magic damage if they are not standing next to any other units. So that's kind of what that one does. Anyway, let's go back to some more basic features about Teamfight Tactics, though, shall we? Because, as I said, this is the introductory video for the set. What you do is you form your team based on the, as I said, the Little Legends characters. They will show up in the store below the main interface. There you can see all the units pop up there with different cost values associated with them. And they all have different traits associated with them. So if you look at the store, Kled has 3 different traits, Noxus, Yordle, Slayer. Of course, my past self is unhelpfully looking at Antisocial Monkey's board right now. But I'll go back to my board soon enough. There we go. So you can see the traits there. Noxus, Yordle, Slayer. Samira has Noxus, Challenger. Jin has Ionia, Deadeye. So they all have these different traits. And then by playing these traits, you get different benefits, which then show up on the left side of the screen. I am currently playing Bruiser and Sorcerer. My past self is helpfully highlighting the Bruiser trait. Your units get extra health. Bruiser, so it's frontline tank trait. Bruisers gain additional health. Then I also have Sorcerer, which is a trait that gives some additional ability power so that spells will deal more damage. Also has a secondary property that when they kill an enemy, they trigger an arcane shock that deals a percentage of the enemy's maximum health to other enemies. But basically, it's a caster trait. So right now, I'm running 2 frontline bruisers, and then I have 2 backline sorcerers. So pretty straightforward here. Now, part of the reason why you're seeing me look at Antisocial Monkey's board is in the 2-player mode, you have the option to send units to the other player's board. I have sent a Tristana over to his board because Antisocial is playing a reroll composition with Yordles, and he has sent me a Cho'Gath. But we were each able to send a 2-star version of those units over there, which is pretty nice. So I mentioned the traits. You play your units, you put them in, and then you get these traits in play that do various different things for your team. Traits are important. Obviously, they give you additional benefits, but traits are not the be-all, end-all. It can often be more important just to play strong units than it is to have more traits in play. So that is something that always has to be considered. It's not just about the traits, it's also about the units themselves. Now, those units do come at different cost tiers. You can see in the shop right now that Garen is a 3 cost, although once again, we're going to jump off this, but the units do come at different cost tiers. There's 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost, and 5 cost units. And the more expensive units are more powerful units, but they also don't unlock until later in the game. I'm actually going to get a really nice carousel here. I'm going to go ahead and take Vel'Koz as another unit in this team comp I'm building towards. I'm going to be playing a Void team composition in this game. I'm going to be looking to play into Void units. Void is a trait that puts an extra unit on the board. It's a little bit like Cultists and Innovators and past sets, for those who might remember that. And basically, by playing more Void units, you get more. You get an extra unit on the board. You do need 3 Void units in order to get this effect in play. So now that I have 3 Void units in, I get a little like egg sac right there, and that is going to turn into a little Void unit that's going to pop up on my board when round starts. The Void 3 Voidling is not particularly strong, but if you can get all the way up to Void 8, which you normally can't do because there's only 7 Void units in the game, but if you can get +1 Void from an emblem or a spatula item or something like that, we can talk more about spatulas in a little bit later, you actually get to have Baron Nashor on your team, who is very, very strong. He's the 8 Void benefit. So if you can get that, then it's quite strong overall. Anyways, I said though, so the units come at different cost tiers. More expensive units are better overall. Early in the game, you're going to have a lot of 1 cost and 2 cost units, and then later on in the game, you're hopefully moving into the 3 cost, 4 cost, and eventually 5 cost units, with 5 cost units being the most expensive ones in Teamfight Tactics. Now, in addition to this, you also want to star up your units when you're playing the game. So if you get 3 copies of 1 unit, then they become a 2-star version of that unit. So for example, right now I have a 2-star version of Cho'Gath because I found 3 Cho'Gaths. So they combine together into a 2-star version. You can see it, they get kind of like a little silver icon on the interface. They also get increased stats, they get higher health, their abilities deal more damage. The general goal is trying to 2-star your whole board. Now it is also possible to try and 3-star a unit. That requires having 9 copies of the unit, 3 2-stars, so 3, 3, and 3 for 9 copies of the unit. And 3-starring units can be very powerful, but it also can be difficult to get them because, after all, finding 9 copies of a unit can be pretty tricky. It's a little bit easier to do here in the 2-player mode because you can work together with your partner. As I mentioned, I already have 7 Cho'Gaths. And Antisocial Monkey is going to be playing a reroll team composition using Yordles that is based on 3-starring units. So he's going to be looking to do that, and Antisocial actually specializes in playing reroll team composition. So I believe he has 6 Tristanas already, and he's going to be looking to try to 3-star his Yordles because the Yordles trait gives you additional benefits from 3-starring the units. Anyway, right there, I get another great shop. I was able to 2-star Renekton. You see, so I had 2 Renektons. I found a 3rd one, so Renekton stars up, becomes a 2-star unit. And then I found another Cho, so I'm actually on 8 Cho'Gaths right now. So I just need to find 1 more for the 3-star Cho'Gath. Cho also has a unique ability in this set, which is when he fills up his mana bar, he eats an enemy unit, And when he does that, he permanently gains additional maximum health. He gets 30 additional health every single time he eats an enemy. So it's pretty good right there. It's definitely a unit that favors getting him early on in the game so he can start stacking up HP and then just keeping him on your team permanently. He's actually not that good of a unit if you can't keep him on the board for the whole game because he is only a 1-cost unit after all. Okay, all right, so other stuff we want to cover here. I talked a little bit about abilities. I should also mention that every unit in this game has a mana bar. It's a little blue bar underneath it. By the way, there is another Cho'Gath coming over from Antisocial Monkey. So there is the 3-star Cho'Gath. He turns gold, gets the nifty yellow coloring there, so he looks really spiffy. And now I've got the 3-star Cho. But as I was saying, every unit has a mana bar. You can see it underneath them. Units gain mana by dealing damage or by taking damage. So that's always important to keep in mind. That's how they gain mana, by dealing damage or by taking damage. Your tank units mostly gain mana by getting hit. And when that fills up, they use their ability. So just something important to keep in mind. Casting units usually want something that's going to help them generate mana more quickly. Now that's where items come into play. So I do want to spend a minute to talk about that here. So in addition to the units and the traits, you also have items. And you get items throughout the game at different points in time. You will get them on the little carousels that take place periodically. They will also pop out of the minion rounds. And that is kind of the ebb and flow of Teamfight Tactics is you start out with a couple minion rounds to build your team. By the way, here we have another augment. This is our second augment of the game. And I actually find a Void Crown, which is going to be super strong for my team. That was actually a prismatic augment, which is the strongest augment. But now I actually get the ability to do +1 void, and that means I will be able to play into the Baron later on if I'm able to get all the other void units. So that's what I'm going to be playing towards. Anyway, to get back to my previous point, so you do get items from the minion rounds. As I said, each stage of Teamfight Tactics starts out with a couple minion rounds to build your team. Then you have 3 PvP rounds, 3 rounds against other players. So we're on stage 3 right now, so that would be you'll hit other players on 3-1, 3-2, 3-3. Then there'll be another carousel where you get to take items. And then there will be 2 more PvP rounds on 3-5 and 3-6. Then another minion round, and then that just keeps repeating over and over and over again. So as I said, 3 player versus player rounds, a carousel, 2 player versus player rounds, and then a minion round. And then that just keeps going on and on and on. Items are not something that you can buy in this game. You might think that you could spend gold and use them to buy items, but that is not the case. You only get items from the minion rounds and from the carousels. Sometimes you can get them from augments as well. One of the big features in the game is knowing what items to build and how to make use of the items that you have. So for example, right now, I actually don't have that many items on my board. I'm actually a little low on items. Sometimes you get more and sometimes you get less. It evens out over the course of the game. But I actually ended up getting a bit more gold in my early game and fewer items. It can be the reverse. Sometimes you get a lot of items and little gold at the start of the game. So it does change from game to game, but it typically evens itself out over the course of the match. So right now I have a frontline tank item on Cho. He has a chain vest, which is an item that gives him additional armor. Meanwhile, in my backline, Malzahar is holding items that are going to be used for the unit that I am playing towards in this game. And that is Kaisa. Kaisa is a 4-cost unit who has Void and Challenger traits, and she is the main carry unit for a Void team composition, outside of hitting Baron Nashor. By the way, you might have noticed that the little Voidling that I had before has been replaced by the Rift Herald, which is a much bigger unit. The Rift Herald has an awful lot of health. It doesn't actually do that much damage, but has an awful lot of health. So my team is really tanky right now, but I have very, very low damage at the moment. And that's because I have not really found a carry for my team. I was trying to put my items on Malzahar so that he could hold items for a future Kaisa, but I still only have a 1-star Malzahar, which is not particularly great. A 1-cost 1-star unit is not going to be all that impressive. So remember what I said, 3 PvP rounds, and now we have the item carousel. One thing that I didn't get a chance to mention before is how is the picking order determined? Well, it's determined by the overall health in the lobby. Over there on the right-hand side, you can see everybody's health. Again, this is the 2-player mode, so we share a health bar here. Antisocial and I both have 81 health. So the teams that are lower health will get to pick first, and then the teams with more health will pick later on. I actually was picking last because as I said, we're actually tied for the most health in the lobby with another team. And it does stagger the players, so it's not just both players who are in last place picking first, and then those players that have the most health picking last. It kind of staggers that to some extent. So anyway, I was able to go ahead and take a bow, and I took a bow because that's a useful Kaisa item. Again, I'm itemizing for a unit that I'm hoping to find later on. Right now, my team, again, is very tanky, but it is missing in the way of actual damage, and that's what I'm going to be hoping to remedy going forward. We also have a gift round here. This is unique to the two-player mode. You do not see this in the individual mode. But on 3.5 and 3.6, you get the opportunity to send a gift to your partner. I have taken the option to get an item, an item anvil, which gives me the option to pick between a couple different items. And I was able to pick a rod, which is what I was looking for. That's going to allow me to take that bow that I just gained and make a rage blade, which is a major item in this set. It is an item that gives you additional attack speed every time your unit attacks. It's not a particularly good item on Malzahar, but it's a very good item on Kaisa. So hopefully I will be able to find Kaisa down the road and then stuff those items that are currently on Malzahar and move them over to Kaisa. You're actually seeing the weakness of my team here right now. My team is very tanky. The Rift Herald lasts forever, but I just don't really do any damage because I have this 1-cost 1-star Malzahar who doesn't really do that much. The 1-cost units, just to repeat, 1-cost units have kind of minor abilities. By the way, here's my chance to send an item over to Antisocial Monkey. I'm going to end up sending him the Thieves' Gloves. As I said, the 1-cost units have pretty basic abilities. They're kind of minor. Malzahar's ability is he puts 2 portals. I think it's his W from Standard League of Legends, although it's been a long time since I played League, so I can't remember which one of these is Mal's. But he puts 2 portals near the target, and then it kind of shoots a little void particle between them. It destroys shields and deals magic damage to all enemies caught in between the 2 portals. Not a particularly strong ability. At least I did manage to 2-star the Mauls there, finally. But it's not a particularly strong ability. It can miss. Like, he can shoot it at a target, and then they can move out of the way. Like I said, just not that great of an ability. Whereas, like, the 4 and 5-cost units have much stronger ability. So, for example, Senna is a 5-cost unit. She has an ultimate that basically hits the entire board with a big beam of light, for example. Or you have Cassante, who can knock units off the board altogether. Like, doesn't matter how many tank stats they have, you can just knock them off the board, which is an instant kill. So yeah, the 4 and 5-cost units have much stronger abilities, which is why you generally want to move out of the 1 and 2-cost units over the course of a game and move your team composition towards teams that are built on the more expensive units. Otherwise, if you can't do that, you just get outscaled by people that are doing that. So this is really always the goal of the game, is trying to balance being strong early, having like an early game board, and being able to transition that into a stronger late game board. All right, so I lost that last round, but we've come to the end of stage 3. This means we have another minion round. And so after this minion round, it'll be time to start a series of PvP rounds again. But I'm going to get some items here. I'm also then going to try to look to get a little bit closer to my endgame team composition. The Void, the Rift Herald has been really nice for me here, but I do want to try to get some actual damage. I'm really, really looking to try to find Kaisa here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to spend some of my gold, and I'm going to talk about the in-game economy in a minute. I have 60 gold, but I'm going to put some of that towards leveling right here, and then I'm going to roll a little bit to see what I can hit. So we're going to roll here. I'm looking specifically for Kaisa, who's a 4-cost unit. I see a Zir, but that doesn't really fit my team composition. I'm also looking for units for Antisocial Monkey, but I'm not really finding them here. I do 2-star Rek'Sai, which is not terrible, but I didn't really find what I was looking for here, so that's a bit unfortunate. Okay, let's talk then about the in-game economy, because this is also crucial in terms of playing Teamfight Tactics. So gold is one of the resources that you need to manage in this game. You can see the gold. It's right in the middle of the interface down there, right above the place where you buy champions in the shop. I currently have 11 gold. And obviously you need that to buy champions, right? You can see how much the champions cost. Callista costs 3 gold, Katarina costs 3 gold, Talia costs 2 gold, blah, blah, blah. I've been talking about 1-cost, 2-cost units. Well, that's literally how much they cost to buy them in the store. If you don't have gold to buy them, then obviously you can't purchase them. So it's important to be able to afford them in the store. So obviously more gold is good because it lets you buy more stuff in the shop. Anyway, this is our last augment of the game, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up something called Ascension, which means that after 15 seconds, my team deals more damage. I think it's a good choice for my board because my board is very tanky but low on damage. So something that causes my team to scale over time is probably a good choice here. Anyway, you still saw I'm also going to move out of the Renekton. Renekton was a 1-cost unit who was really good for the early game, but I actually don't need him. He was giving me Bruiser trait, but he was actually giving me Bruiser 3, and that doesn't actually do anything. You need Bruiser 2 does something, Bruiser 4 does something, Bruiser 3 doesn't actually do anything. So I have found a random Cassante in the store. He is a 5-cost unit. I actually found him at 1% odds. That was kind of lucky. And I'm just going to put the Void Emblem on him. So he's going to give me the Bastion trait, which is another frontline tank trait. Bastion units get extra armor and magic resistance. And he's just generally a very good unit because he's a 5-cost unit. Again, his ability is that he has the ability to knock enemy units off the board. Let's see if he actually does that in this. He, first of all, casts once to knock units to the edge of the board. If he gets off a second cast, he knocks them off the board entirely. Did he manage to do that? No, he got this Renekton over to the edge of the board. Looks like he didn't quite get him off the edge of the board. It's actually the way that you can deal with super tanks in this set is you can have Cassante just knock them out, which is pretty hilarious. But yeah, I figured that even a 1-star Cassante is probably better than a 2-star Renekton at this stage of the game. As you see, the Rift Herald actually ends up winning that fight there. All right, so back to the shop again. I talked a little bit about the gold. So first and foremost, you needed to buy champions on the store. Well, in addition to that, you can also spend gold on doing 2 other things. One of them is buying experience. Naturally, you get 2 experience every round of the game. So every time there's a new round, you naturally gain 2 XP. That always happens no matter what. You can also spend 4 gold to buy 4 XP. As you see, Antisocial hitting his 3-star Jinx over there. He's playing through Jinx and Tristana, who are gunners, which is an ability that gives them additional attack damage as they fire their guns. So you can pay 4 gold for 4 XP, and it's actually really important to level up throughout the game because leveling up gives you access to more units. You can play 1 unit for each level that you have normally. I am level 7, that means I get to play 7 units. I also do get the Rift Herald for free, so I actually get an 8th unit, but that's kind of a special circumstance because that's what the Void trait does. So being a higher level is inherently good because you get to play more units. There are some strategies where you deliberately hold at lower levels. In fact, Antisocial Monkey's doing that in this game. But generally speaking, it's better to be a higher level because you get to play more units. And that's kind of the first thing. By the way, we have another carousel here. Once again, I am last pick. We've actually been winning a few more rounds lately as our comps are starting to come together here. I'm going to have last pick, and that means I got a choice. By the way, there's a spatula here. Spatulas let you add traits to units that don't normally have those traits, which is pretty interesting. But out of the options here, I didn't have too many choices. I was like, let's go ahead and grab this because I can make a Titan's Resolve with this, which is a decent item. All right, so getting back to our point about the shops, though. So I mentioned that when you level up, you get the ability to play more units. Well, you also get the ability to play higher tier units because the level you are affects your shop odds. By the way, here I do something I should have done about 2 rounds ago. I use my item remover to take the items off Malzahar and put them on Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz is a 3-cost unit. Malzahar is a 1-cost unit, so it's going to be better to have these units on Vel'Koz. And it's free to do so because I've got the item remover. Okay. So if you look on the shop interface just to the left of where the gold is tallied, I am unhelpfully going over to Antisocial Monkey's board here, but I will eventually go back to my board, and you will be able to see the shop odds. There they are. It is the 19%, 30%, 35%, 15%, 1%. Those are the odds to get the units at each cost tier. 19% for the 1-cost units, 30% for the 2-cost units, etc., up to 1% for the 5-cost units. So leveling up is really important because you just will not be able to play the 4 and the 5-cost units if you aren't able to increase your level. I mean, you might get really lucky, but it's not going to be consistent if you can't increase your level. I mean, at 1% odds for the 5-cost, you're just not very likely to hit them. Now, I get crazy lucky, and I actually hit Belveth, who is the 5-cost Void unit at 1% odds as well. So that's a high roll. I also got the Void Crest, so I'm actually high rolling pretty hard in this game. And that is the term for getting lucky, basically, in Teamfight Tactics, high rolling. So I'm getting pretty lucky here, but trust me, you will not consistently be able to hit a 5-cost unit at 1% odds. It's just not likely to happen. So again, you want to increase your shop odds, or excuse me, increase your level so you can better your shop odds. Right now, I would like to get to level 8, both so I can play another unit, and because I'll have much better odds to find Kaisa, who's the unit I really want to find now. At level 8. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. All right, so as I said, you can spend 4 gold to buy 4 XP. The other thing you can do is you can spend 2 gold to refresh the shop. And I actually did that at the start of stage 4. I rolled a bit on level 7 to see if I could find some additional units for my board, and it's actually worked out really well. I've been winning all the rounds. I'm actually just about to close out a 5-match win streak here. There we go. So it's definitely worthwhile to do that and strengthen my board. So you can spend 2 gold to refresh the shop. It's just like the start of a new round. Treats it exactly the same way. I've often referred to it as being like a fresh flop of cards in poker. You get like a fresh hand of cards. And, that's dictated by the odds in your shop. So you can refresh the shop at any point in time by spending 2 gold. Now, the trade-off here is by refreshing the shop, you're spending gold that is not putting you towards leveling up. So, that money is giving you a chance to buy more champions, but it is not getting you to higher levels. So in most situations, if you can, the best thing to do is just sit there and econ up to higher levels. But yet that's not always a possibility. In some games, you're not really going to be finding what you're looking for, and you're not going to have any choice but to re-roll the shop. Like sometimes you're going to be dying. By the way, I'm going to get sent to Kaisa by Antisocial because I have not been able to find Kaisa. And now we're going to transition our board. Sona was a really nice pickup for us. She was giving us the sort trait and the multicaster trait, but we are now going to take her out. This is going to get us up to 7 void, and now I'm going to put Yasuo in and give him my void emblem, and boom, 8 void. And now we're going to move our items over to Kaisa. Even though she is a 1-star unit, these really are Kaisa items. They're not Vel'Koz items. They're Kaisa items. So I'm going to put them on her. And now we have very successfully transitioned our team comp into 8 void, 2 bruiser, 2 challenger, 2 sorcerer. Empress is just what's her name? Belveth's unique trait. That's just the trait that she always has. So now we have Baron Nashor, and Baron Nashor is extremely strong. He was even stronger on the public beta environment, but he's eaten quite a few nerfs since then. But yeah, he's a very strong unit. And my board is just really spiked in terms of power right now, so I don't anticipate losing any rounds immediately. Now my goal is to try to 2-star the Kaisa. By the way, I'm going to get another item drop from Antisocial Monkey, so going to get my choice of a couple different items. I would normally take Zeke's Herald here, but remember, I'm running social distancing for my augment, so I actually can't have anyone stand next to each other or they lose the social distancing benefit. So anyway, I'm just going to take this Sunfire Cake for Cho'Gath because I did not have a healing debuff on my team composition, and that will give me one of those. And then I need to reconfigure my formation a little bit so everybody's still getting the social distancing benefit. I don't quite manage to get that off in time, but I'll fiddle with it before the next round. Okay. So I was talking a little bit more about the econ side of the game. Note that the shop odds have changed now that I'm level 8. Before, I had 1% odds to hit 5 cost. Now I have 4% odds. And my odds to hit the 4 cost, I believe, went from 15% to 25%, which is also a pretty big jump. The odds to hit the 1 cost units actually went down, but I don't really want 1 cost units at this stage of the game, so that's not a big deal. Now, we also have to talk the other aspect about the in-game economy, which is where do you get money from? And there's a couple different ways that you get money in this game. By the way, here's the other gift round. I had the chance to send Antisocial Monkey another gift, and he's going to take the completed item anvil, if I remember correctly. Okay, so first of all, you always get 5 gold at the start of each round. So that always happens. You always get 5 gold to spend at the start of each round. Then there are ways to get additional gold. The first one of these is based on whether you're on a streak. That is a win streak or a loss streak. So this is indicated by the little fire icon right next to the gold total. Right now I'm on a 7-match winning streak, which is really good, by the way. Not trying to brag or anything, but that's really good. And here I'm going to roll, by the way. I'm trying to see if I can hit Kaisa 2 stars. So I'm going to roll a little bit. I managed to find one more Kaisa, but I wasn't able to find the Kaisa 2-star. The way it works is if you're on a long winning streak or a long losing streak, you will gain additional gold. I believe it's if you're on at least a 2-match win streak or loss streak, you gain 1 extra gold, and then that stacks up to a 5-match win streak or loss streak, at which point in time you get 3 extra gold. So, if you are on a 5-match win streak or a 5-match loss streak, by the way, it's one of the game's catch-up mechanics, is if you're on a big loss streak, you also get additional gold. It makes a big difference, right? You go from 5 gold per round to 8 gold per round because you get the 3 extra gold, and that's a pretty big deal. So that's one of the ways you get additional gold is being on a win streak or a loss streak. The other way that you get gold is it's based on how much money is in your bank. For every 10 gold that's sitting in your bank, you receive +1 gold at the start of the next round. So If you have 10 gold in the bank, you get +1 gold. If you have 50 gold in the bank, you get +5 gold. That's the end, though. After 50 gold, it doesn't do anything extra for you. So you can't go up to like 100 gold and get 10 gold extra. I believe there is an augment that lets you do that, but normally 50 gold is the cap. And having more gold in your bank above that doesn't do anything else. So, I mean, ideally, you would want to stay above 50 gold because that's where you get the maximum interest. But again, you can't always afford to do that. So, for example, some of these other teams are dying right now. Like, they're currently losing in this match. And if you're not strong enough to win rounds, then you really need to start rolling to upgrade your board strength. And that means you can't afford to sit there with 50 gold in the bank at all points in time. So that's, again, one of the big trade-offs in the gameplay is how much gold do you want to sit there and preserve for economic strength as opposed to gold that you want to spend on leveling so you can get to a higher level and play more units, or on re-rolling so you can try to find the units that you need. So, for example, I still don't have 2-star Kaisa, so I'm re-rolling right now for Kaisa. I think it's more important to try to re-roll for Kaisa than it is to try to get to level 9 right now, because going to level 9 doesn't really do that much for my board. And then it's also super expensive to get to level 9. It's 84 experience to get to level 9. So I made the decision I would roll. Oh yeah, I'm also trying to 2-star Yasuo as well. So I'm looking to 2-star my remaining units here. I also would like to find a Heimerdinger for Antisocial Monkey. Heimerdinger's a 5-cost Yordle, and it actually would spike his board quite a bit if I could find a Heimerdinger for him. But and I'm a higher level than him, so I have better odds because he deliberately stayed at a lower level in order to re-roll for his Yordles. He actually has 3-star Tristana, 3-star Kled, 3-star Jinx, and I think he has 3-star Poppy as well. I believe he has 4 different 3-star units over there on his board. Yordle is a trait that specifically gives you extra benefits if you have 3-star units. So if you like to re-roll, then it's a good trait for that. If you have 3 3-star champions with Yordle trait, your strongest 3-star Yordle champion becomes a 4-star Yordle champion. Normally, you can't have 4-star units. Normally, 3-star is the limit, but that's the special ability of Yordle trait is one of your units can become a 4-star unit, which I believe is his Tristana is getting that 4-star benefit. Anyway, so those are most of the key features, I think, as far as Teamfight Tactics are concerned. As you watch this Heimerdinger turret fight with Aatrox, pretty funny there. As I said, again, the key tension in the gameplay is really about building your board, managing your economy, trying to find the items that'll fit with your team composition. And, there's a lot of strategy to the game. There is, of course, a good deal of randomness, but over the course of many matches, you really do start to see the skill threshold come through. When we've done our custom games on Friday mornings, the people that are the top TFT players have tended to do very, very well over and over and over again. So it's definitely not all luck, even if the outcome of one particular match might be kind of lucky. Again, I've said it's a lot like poker in that regard. All right, so this match is getting close to the end. I should also mention that the way that the health system works is everybody start. By the way, there's another Bel'Veth, so I have 2 out of 3 Bel'Veths. I'd really love to find one more Bel'Veth and get Bel'Veth 2-star as well. 5-cost 2-stars are extremely powerful units. Now I'm just looking for that Kaisa, kind of the most important for me to find. There she is. All right, so now I probably should go to level 9 and try to find 2-star Bel'Veth. That's probably the best that I can do here. I'm going to take an item here, Guard Breaker, which is a decent item on her, if not completely amazing. Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the health system. Again, everybody starts with 100 health, or here in the 2-player mode, the team starts with 100 health. And you lose health when you lose rounds. It's pretty straightforward. As the game goes on, you also lose more health for losing. Early on in the game, if you lose a round, it doesn't cost you that much health. Here on stage 6, though, you actually lose a ton of health if you lose a round. And basically, that's just so that the game, as everybody's had time to build their team compositions. It's like the game starts wrapping up and coming to a close as you get here closer to the end of the match. The other thing is, if it's a close loss, you don't take that much damage. So like if it's like down to 1 unit left on each side, you will generally only take like a couple points of damage. But if it's a crushingly one-sided victory, you tend to take a lot of damage. So even if you're trying to loss streak, there's always the incentive to try to make that so your losses are close, so you take less damage, which is kind of an interesting thing. I am now on an 11-match winning streak, so I haven't lost a round in quite some time. Antisocial hasn't lost a round in quite some time either. So we're anticipating that this is going to be the last round of the game. Here in the 2-player mode, you cannot be knocked out of the game unless you're on 1 HP. So if you're on like 3 health and you take a huge loss, you go down to 1 health in the 2-player mode. So you always get like that last life. In the one-player mode, that is not the case, though. You just die when you hit 0 health. By the way, I was watching Antisocial Monkey's board because we knew this was going to be the last round of the game. But then he actually lost the last round, which was like, wait, what? Because for some reason, Kled became his 4-star unit. We weren't really sure why that was. Something kind of weird, but that was not the unit he wanted to be his 4-star. But oh well. Anyway, we ended up winning this one. It was a pretty comfortable win. This is right at the beginning of the set, so the double-up matches are relatively easy because we have not built up that matchmaking rating that's going to put us up against really tough opponents. But we love the 2-player mode. It's a ton of fun. It's a lot more entertaining than the single-player mode, so you can expect to see me doing a lot of these 2-player games. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was a useful introduction to Teamfight Tactics. We'll see what this set brings, but hopefully it'll be a lot of fun. So until next time, take care, folks, and I'll see you again soon.